I wanted to make a quick video to take you guys through the first 5 clients that I ever got in my development agency. I think it's good to reflect on the way you get different clients, and at least this was what I did to get my first 5. I think once you have your first 5, that's really when you start to build a basis because you understand what your clients want, what they need. You definitely need more, but most of the time those first 5 are the hardest to get. Just as a disclaimer, I don't share any of my client names as well for privacy reasons, so that's why I don't get into super specific details in case you're wondering. So my first ever client I got through Twitter. I think I made another video about it. It was an $11,000 deal. I was having a lot of conversations with people, specifically in the Twitter like Web3 community. I would engage with people in the community and I would reply to things, not just creating tweets myself. And eventually that put me in a conversation with somebody. I mentioned that I was running this development agency, setting things up, and he said, oh, I have a friend who's looking for work. Maybe I can put you guys in touch. That was the first proper agency deal I ever did. Now, bear in mind, I had done some stuff for some other people on Web3 before. It was little work. One of these projects was commission-based, where that commission ended up in being nothing, but it did give me something to then talk about when I was pitching that first deal. I pitched 13K and we negotiated down to 11, and I walked away super happy with that. And that was, maybe a 2-month-long deal. So it's pretty good, very profitable. The second deal, a friend of mine who later ended up working with us as an engineer, we were put in touch with somebody that he knew and he could vouch for. It was a pretty decent project, but they delayed payments for like 9 months. That was a huge pain for me. I learned more from the mistakes, but as a portfolio piece, it also wasn't really the best. Third deal I got through somebody who was actually a VC friend of mine. So he reached out and basically said, hey, are you still running that agency of yours or whatever? This is a couple months after we had connected. I said, yeah, absolutely. Are you looking for work at the moment? And he said, yeah, I have a portfolio company that potentially needs a little bit of help with their front end. That was the third deal I ever closed. That was a pretty good deal, but we did milestone-based payments and they ended up never completing the last milestone. To no fault of our own, they ended up going under as a startup. That happens sometimes. Basically, they got to the third milestone, and then the last one, we needed some of their feedback and they just never got back to us. And so they just didn't complete that, and that last payment never got complete either. So I start to learn that maybe these milestone-based things aren't the best because they can get stretched out and then clients never come back and it's really dodgy. That was the first time I started to implement more of a SaaS subscription model, which in turn has come to work a lot better. Fourth client, it was a project that I got through a friend of mine who I met at a conference. Said friend introduced me to this person who needed development work. The founder of this company ended up working super well. That deal, I also learned a lot. It was a really good deal. And that was also when I started to realize the importance of building those relationships. In some ways, at the start, I messed up the deal a little bit, but because I had built something of a relationship, I managed to keep it a little bit longer to redeem myself. And that was really, really valuable. So bear in mind, at this point, we're several months in. So these first 5 deals actually took me a really long time to get. It was really slow at the start, but over time, I've learned a lot more. That's helped things move faster. The 5th deal was also through a friend who was a business friend. He runs his own company. He then came to me with another friend of his who wanted to make some software, and we went through with it. That last deal also ended up being a mistake because they stopped paying, and I continued to develop things because it was my friend and I wanted to make an exception. That deal became one of the biggest losses that I ever had because I trusted somebody when I shouldn't have, and I should have put things in writing, etc. At the end of the day, I would say these first 5 deals taught me so much because I really started to understand things. The biggest pattern you can see though is they were relationship-based things and community-based things. The relationships that you foster will start to get you deals, but it will take time. The community stuff is really, I think, where you can get deals a little bit faster because there's just more people to interact with. And so you kind of cast a broader net. Those are my first 5 deals. I'd love to hear if you have stories about your first 5 deals. Drop them in the comments. I'd always be really curious. And if you have any questions, let me know as well. Happy to make videos about those.